Welcome everyone to this week's video. Today we are on Fish Friday number 273 and we have a good one for you today. Today's fish is a fish that we talked about one of its relatives way back, I believe in the late Fish Friday 90s. And I thought it would be a good time to kind of bring this fish back so that we can hopefully talk about it and hopefully teach some people about it. Today's fish that we're going to be talking about is the giant snakehead. Now the giant snakehead, or scientific name Canna micropeltes, again that's Canna micropeltes. It is part of the family Canidae, which is the family of snakeheads. Now the giant snakehead is native to Southeast Asia, Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia, Cambodia, Laos, Vietnam, and that's really where most of these snakeheads are found. And they're really found in the major river systems, Mekong, the Chao Phraya, the Mahakam rivers. They haven't been introduced to other regions, which is why it can actually be so highly invasive. But we'll talk more about why it can be heavily invasive in a little bit longer. Now this species inhabits freshwater rivers, lakes, swamps, floodplains. They really seem to prefer warm waters with a lot of vegetation, and it thrives on slow moving and stagnant water environments. Really likes those stagnant waters. But freshwater fish with a lot of vegetation, that's pretty much all it requires, which is why it can be so adaptable and found in so many places. Now, the giant snakehead, as its name would imply, is one of the largest members of the family Canidae, reaching up to 3.3 feet, which is a little over 1 meter. So it can be pretty heavy, and it can be very heavy as well. As you can see, this giant snakehead has a very long cylindrical body that is very muscular, and it resembles a snake, which is why it got its name. In terms of coloration, the juveniles are absolutely beautiful. So here you have a juvenile giant snakehead, really striking reddish stripe with these black stripes above and below it. This really bright red eye with the line completely going through it. Absolutely beautiful. When they get older, they're going to shift to more of a mottled patterning with like gray, green, dark brown, sometimes very black going down the sides. Very mottled, but with that real pale underbelly. You can see they have this very elongated dorsal and anal fin and a very thick caudal fin as well. And that's because this entire thing is really built for power. And if you notice, if you see the teeth here, those teeth are predatory teeth. There's no denying it. This thing is a voracious predator. Large terminal mouth, very deal. But other than that, I mean, it's kind of fits. If you know what a snakehead looks like, it fits your general snakehead body shape. Now, in terms of behavior, they are a very highly aggressive territorial predator. I mean, all you have to do is look at this picture and you kind of be like, go from there. Not goes from there. You can see that it can be very powerful. They're going to be actively hunting all the time for fish, crustaceans, frogs, small mammals, birds, essentially anything that they can get a hold of, they're going to try and eat. It's really bizarre what they can eat. And there's even more reasons because of their behavior and their aggressiveness that kind of tends to lends to their invasiveness. During breeding season, the adults become extremely fierce and very protective when will sometimes charge intruders, including larger animals, including humans. So I've always kind of likened the snakeheads to be the freshwater barracudas. So if you are around snorkeling and you kind of get into a snakehead issue, where you're like snorkeling around and you're in one of their nests or during their breeding seasons, they will actively charge at you and try and bite you. It's truly a voracious and just mean thing. And in terms of size, yeah, these pictures kind of don't do it justice, but you can see that some of these pictures have show like how large they can get. That's not a giant snakehead, but oh man, there's just not, I mean, this is still not that big of a one. I mean, these pictures obviously are pretty big, but I'm trying to figure out, not sure if that's a giant snakehead. That looks more like a giant snakehead, but you can kind of get an idea that snakeheads can be fairly large. I mean, you're talking about over a foot, and probably around 40-50 pounds. So very, very voracious and very, very mean. Now, in terms of reproduction, they do form monogamous breeding pairs, so meaning one male, one female, and they construct a floating nest of vegetation near the water surface, where the female will lay thousands of eggs, which are fertilized by the male, and then both parents actively guard the eggs. Then once the eggs hatch, it's really interesting because the fry will form these schools that is almost just like an orange cloud. They're so colorful when they're young. The parents will actively defend this cloud though, and what's even more is the fry actually just stay near the parents for several weeks until they grow large enough. And it's very interesting because we've talked about parental investment in fish quite a bit, where most people think fish come and go, but in all actuality, this fish is probably one of the strongest parental investment fish in the world, where they will actively spend so much energy and so much time trying to protect their young, which is always a fascinating scenario. Now, you can find them in the aquarium trade. I 100% would not, but you can find them, especially when they're young and they have those extremely striking, beautiful colors. But for the interesting fact we're going to end the video on, is this species can breathe atmospheric oxygen. So they can be an air breathing. They're utilizing, I believe, a labyrinth organ, which is, you can almost think of that as a modified lung. But not only do they breathe, atmospheric oxygen, which a lot of fish do, talked about gar and things like that. This fish can actually survive out of the water for extended periods of time as long as its skin remains moist. It can even move across land during wet conditions using almost like a snake-like motion, hence snakehead. And that's one of the reasons why it is so invasive, because they can move quite a long distance over land to relocate between water bodies. And so it's one of those deals, if you have a water body that's getting rather infested with snakeheads, instead of them sort of self-regulating, eventually the ones that are not winning the territorial battles, as soon as they get a really large rain event, they'll just move away and try and find new waters. That's why it can actually be so invasive anywhere it's introduced. Now, I don't know the extent of its range in terms of introduction, but it does concern me that it can be found somewhere else, and that's It's very, very concerning. So yeah, the atmospheric oxygen and the overland movement combined is definitely an interesting fact, and one of the reasons why it can be so invasive. But I do have a second interesting fact for you, that I couldn't decide between the two, which is why I'm bringing two, is that this is one of the species of fish that actually exhibits complex cooperative hunting behaviors. And what I mean by that is, even though they are very aggressive and very territorial and really don't like each other, when there is plentiful food, multiple adults will actually work together to herd schools of prey fish towards shallower waters and kind of trap them in shallower waters to improve capture success. And that is not common. Cooperative hunting is a little bit common, but cooperative hunting in this aggressive of a fish, that's pretty uncommon. So very, very interesting fish, and sad that it can be so invasive. But thank you guys so much again. I really appreciate it. Hope to see you again. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you do. I'd really appreciate it. Hope to see you again. If you'd like to support the channel, please click the link down below. It is by no means expected. Very much appreciated regardless. Take care of yourselves, take care of your loved ones, and peace.